This is The Weekly on ClickOrlando.com with Justin Warmoth.
Good morning, I'm Justin Warmoth. All of Central Florida's districts will be back tomorrow for the first full week of school. Safety continues to be paramount, and following the massacre at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, law enforcement leaders have been rolling out new ways to both prevent and respond to an active shooter situation. This morning, Orange County Sheriff John Mina is here to break down the training his deputies received ahead of the new school year. And Sheriff, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
All right, so back to school, here we are. Take us through what Orange County looks like. How safe are schools right now, and what changes have been made in the last year?
I'm very proud of what we have done here in Orange County, not only the school district, but the law enforcement agencies. You know, obviously we have a school resource officer in every single school. Our agency has access to thousands of cameras inside the school. Each SRO has a safe with a rifle in their office at the school, and they have additional protective equipment as well. One of the things that we're most proud of is the training, and I had the opportunity to witness it just the other day, and our deputies are going through real life scenarios of what they need to do in an active assailant situation at one of their schools.
I know that they went through training as well. There's renewed training on mental health and with youth mental health specifically. The changes that have been made through legislation in the past year, what does that look like? And will there be a noticeable difference for students and parents as they head back to school?
Shouldn't be too much of a noticeable difference.
Okay.
One of the big changes this year is that our schools for several years now have to do the active assailant drills every month in every single school. Now, deputies and officers who work in that area will have to respond as well and participate in the drill. So at some schools they might see an additional presence, but that's just good training. So the deputies and officers who work in that area will know exactly where to go and how to respond in the event of an active assailant.
You know, it's interesting because not all of them, but a lot of active shooter situations at schools are with students of that school. They go through the same training as the people that they're targeting. Is that a factor? Is that something that SROs will think about, and what you think about as you perform these active shooter drills?
Yeah, so that's something that we have talked about, obviously, in many schools and teachers, and they have safe areas in the classroom, so all those students know where that safe area is. So it's important to train. That's why we have these active assailant drills, and it's important that our deputies have the mindset that they need to get in there as quickly as possible and end the killing.
What would you tell parents who are understandably on edge as their kids go back to school in light of what happened in Uvalde?
First, I would tell them that our SROs here and all across Central Florida are extremely dedicated. They're parents themselves. They think about this just like the parents do. They're there every day with those kids and have relationships with those kids, and they are highly trained. They have the best equipment and training possible. They have great leadership, and they know what the philosophy is. They know that they are there to risk their lives for the protection of our children. Our parents should know that. Yeah,
the fallout from Uvalde, where it doesn't seem like there was the chain of command was bad, and just the whole response, no one knew what to do, or there was confusion. So SROs in Orange County know what to do, and then as deputies respond, there is a chain of command to prevent something like that, and the lack of response on the Uvalde Police Department on their end, something like that would not happen in Orange County. Is that what you're saying?
So in Orange County and the surrounding agencies here, we all follow the same training and philosophy. That is, that first deputy on the scene, they train in the single deputy response. It doesn't matter where they are or who they are. They know that if they hear gunshots, they're going right in to handle that situation. And when backup comes to help them. And certainly as more and more deputies get there, then our processes for incident command will go into action.
I know that early on in a school year and also later on in a school year, there are more threats, seemingly more threats. How do you handle each individual threat? Are they all credible in your eyes? And what does that response look like?
We handle each threat as a credible threat until we learn otherwise. So we have a great system in place, a threat assessment team that goes out. So when we get a threat, via TikTok or an email or from a student, we will go, if we can identify the person or the student, we will go hands-on and actually go to their home, talk with parents, and notify the teachers, see if the child has access to firearms, maybe utilize the red flag laws and prevent that home from having a firearm if that warrants it. And then finally, if there's enough probable cause, we will make an arrest for a threat. One of the new pieces of legislation that also came out is the false threat. It was just a joke. Well, people can be charged with that now. So students and parents need to keep that in mind, have conversations with them as well. I think OCPS did a great job a couple years ago putting out a video telling people that it's not funny, it's not a joke. We need to be ready, and so we can't have these fake threats or false threats coming in. When
there is a threat and school is in session and a code red lockdown goes into place, parents obviously, who could blame them? They go to the worst case scenario and they go to the school, and the information sometimes isn't getting to them as quickly, and then that's when the rumors start to kind of circulate, right? What would be your message to parents if their child's school goes into a lockdown? What would be the best protocol?
I know OCPS has a good protocol for notifying parents, but I would ensure that I follow social media at the sheriff's office. We will notify parents and the public what's going on at a particular school. Follow the social media of that particular school and of OCPS as well, and you can get a lot of information that way.
I'm curious, as parents send their kids back to school, and what would be the messaging? How would you talk to, if you had a kid who's going back to school or going to school for the first time, is that a conversation that you would have with your child, and what would that conversation look like when it comes to specifically threats at their school?
So obviously that's a hard conversation to have, especially the younger the child is, but that's the world we live in, and we have to explain to them the run, hide, and fight type of scenarios, and they're going to get used to it because there will be active assailant drills at their school, and sometimes it's scary to think about, to have that difficult conversation with your child, but you really have to.
So when it comes to school safety, Orange County, you have full confidence, though, going into this new school year, that if something does happen, response will be there down the line. Training has been done, all of the above, all the boxes have been checked.
I have 100% confidence in our deputies, in our leadership, in the training that we have provided with them, and also the equipment that they have. And they know, and I've looked them in the eye, I've talked to them before the school year started and told them, you will risk your lives for the safety of our community. And they get that, they understand that, and now they have the training and equipment to do that.
Now, as we've seen with a number of school shooting suspects, warning signs were either missed or ignored. Coming up, Sheriff Mina will explain why it's so crucial to act at the first sign of suspicion, plus the new technology in Orange County that alerts law enforcement with a touch of a button. We'll be right back.
This is The Weekly on ClickOrlando.com with Justin Warmoth.
Welcome back as we continue to focus on school safety with Orange County Sheriff John Mina. We pick up the conversation on school resource officers, a position that has certainly evolved in the last decade. Do you have deputies wanting to become SROs? Are they eager to take on this position because of the nature of the world we live in now?
Absolutely. I think there are a percentage that want to be there and protect our children. There are also some deputies that also want to protect our children but want to be there to mentor our kids. And we go through some great training. Beyond that active assailant training, we also have crisis intervention training for all of our SROs. They go through additional crisis intervention youth training as well as autism training at the sheriff's office, so they're very well prepared. And again, a lot of them, it's a passion to be in the schools with our children.
What about hardening the schools? How does that look? Have there been any changes, say in the last summer or in the last year, when it comes to hardening schools and making sure doors are locked and what have you?
Yeah, so in my conversations with school board members and with OCPS and school police, they are looking at all those things. You know, where are the vulnerabilities? Do we need more cameras? Do we need more fencing? So I know they're looking at all that, and I'm in favor of that. A big fan of hardening the schools.
What about in case of an emergency? What does that look like? Is it a 911 call? Take us through, like, for folks who don't know and parents who maybe their kids going to school for the first time. Does a teacher have like an emergency? But what is that response? How do they make sure that helps on the way?
So there are several ways that if an active assailant situation were to happen, a teacher, a student could call 911, the SRO could hear something and respond. But now all the administrators at OCPS have an app on their phone, and it's basically a panic alarm button for violence. And I had the opportunity to watch how it worked, and it is a very loud, piercing alarm that goes right to our communications center. So our dispatchers hear that alarm. The dispatchers immediately know that there is violence happening at that school. Dispatch our deputies, notify the SRO if they're not already aware of it.
Interesting. A lot of this, and as we learn about suspects who go to school targeting students and teachers, as we learn about these school shooters, there are warning signs that people miss, parents miss, friends miss, what have you. What would that message be to parents or friends of people? They see something, maybe they write it off, maybe they say, I don't think that they're really serious. Those warning signs are so critical.
They're extremely critical, and there are signs in many cases. And a lot of times friends and family members are the first to see those signs, and that's when they really need to reach out to law enforcement, need to reach out to school. Maybe it's not a situation where law enforcement needs to get involved yet, but there are counselors at school, and that has happened in the past. Someone has said, hey, I'm concerned about what my child is watching on the internet and participating in, and they go to the school guidance counselors and talk it over with them. And in addition, if you see something and you're afraid that something might happen, someone might commit violence, call law enforcement. And it turns out that it's nothing and it was a false alarm. We would rather have that than the next school shooter.
On a larger scale, we've seen a number of mass shootings recently, certainly, but scares as well. We have a traumatized nation. So it's understandable. One happened at Lake Eola, one happened at the Florida Mall, where people think that there is an active shooter, and then chaos ensues and panic ensues. What's the best? I know that everyone's different and every situation is different. What tips do you have for people who get caught up in a situation like that? What's the best way to handle it?
So the first thing I tell people is to be aware of your surroundings. And unfortunately today we have to be vigilant for that. And this all happens in a matter of seconds, but there is time to assess the situation. And just because there are people running doesn't mean you should run too. You don't know why they're running, but all this has to happen very quickly. So what I would tell people, and what I've told my family, is assess the situation really quick, and worst case scenario, run, hide, fight, and that may be the best situation. But each situation is different, and you'll have to assess that when it happens. But certainly don't get caught up in what everyone else is doing. Take a second to assess the situation and see what's going on.
Before families go out, or if you're by yourself, before you go out and you go to a public place, is it something that they should have a conversation about, have a plan in place if that sort of thing happens? You don't want to think about this as you try to enjoy yourself out and about, but in the world we live in, is that something that you think should happen, the conversation at least? Yeah,
and that goes back to what I was saying about be aware of your surroundings. Like most law enforcement officers, anytime they go into a place, they know where the exit is, they know how to get out, they know where the cover is. And unfortunately, in today's society, we all need to start thinking about those things. But I would say definitely be aware of your surroundings, know where help is, know where you can get out. And it might not be for that. There could be a fire. There could be something else that happens where you need to exit that area. So know where your exits are, or know where there are places where you can be safe.
While I have you here, I know that fentanyl and opioids, this crisis is something that doesn't always get the headlines, but it is here. And the rise of fentanyl is certainly taking a lot of young people's lives. And as kids go back to school, and it's just a good reminder for everyone about the potential and what you might think is a very basic drug, and someone gives it to you, there is a possibility that it contains fentanyl, and that is deadly.
Absolutely. And so from the law enforcement side, we have made some significant arrests to help reduce that. And so here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office, we have seen a significant decline in overdose and overdose deaths. And I think that's a combination of community awareness, the great job the law enforcement is doing in going after these dealers, and the awareness campaigns of the one pill can kill. And I think people are really starting to that
Right.
message is resonating with them. Wait a minute, if I take this one drug this one time, it could kill me just one time. And I think that's why you're seeing a significant decline.
Because very few people go to a drug dealer and say, I want a pill packed with fentanyl. Like that, it's they take this and unknowingly. So that's the thing, is like the awareness campaign, and that's great to hear that the numbers are down significantly.
Yeah, so almost by half this year. So we're hoping that trend continues. But like I said, I think there's a real awareness from people out there that this drug can kill you if you use it one time.
Now, each district in Central Florida has its own approach when it comes to school safety. For example, in Brevard County, deputies will now carry rifles when they're on campus. You can find more on that story and how other local agencies are protecting schools on clickorlando.com/weekly. I'm Justin Warmoth. Hope you have a great Sunday.